In the spring of 1954, on the very day I arrived in Sydney with my family, Francis Brabazon handed me a notice sent by Avatar Mayor Baba that his Western male followers over the age of 16 could come to be with him from the 10th to the 30th of September. With great joy and on my part wonderment, Francis and I arranged to travel together to India and attend the gathering that came to be known as the 3 Incredible Weeks with Mayor Baba. We arrived in Bombay on the 10th of September, where we met 15 other Western men from America and England, and we set off by coaches to Mehrabad. It was the only occasion that beloved Baba held a program designed exclusively for Western men. And it proved to be a time of extraordinary intimacy between Baba and this small group of men. Upon the hill at Mehrabad was a large 2-storey stone house which had served for years as a retreat for Baba's women disciples. Baba now decided that the retreat should be used for the Western men. Early in the morning of the 12th, we were taken by coach to Ahmednagar to Wadia Park. There, standing on the platform, we watched the car bringing beloved Baba arrive below us. Baba seated himself on the platform, and we then sat on chairs in an arc some 10 feet behind him. Then, as though he had suddenly remembered our existence, he turned in the chair in short, emphatic movements, looking at each one. His glance pierced me as though it were a shaft penetrating to the depths, and I felt a shock through my body like an electric charge. We stood around Baba as he began the darshan program. As I watched, I noticed the graceful movement of his hand and arm. I noticed that no one was missed, although the crush was heavy and some would tend to be pushed aside. Barbara's arm would shoot through the press of bodies and make contact with the jostled one. That strong movement of his arm seemed to me like a series of arrows of love to each passing heart. Barbara gave and gave his love, irrespective of the motive that brought these tens of thousands to him. But I noticed that, absorbed as he appeared to be in giving sweets to each passing hand, every now and then he would stop and stroke the face of the person and perhaps say something. The contact, the wide, blossoming smile it produced, obviously suggested that here was one who loved and did not just seek blessings for self. Barbara's mandali directed alternate lines of men and boys, then lines of women and girls, so that they came single file before Barbara. For the most part it was orderly, but at times large groups, especially of men, surged forward impatient to get to him. He was so magnetic that people sometimes could not restrain themselves. I wondered, aren't they aware of Barbara's love where they are? Suddenly I realised they were surging toward Barbara because they were receiving his love. They felt compelled to get to him, to touch him and to drink from the cup of his divine love. Sometimes Barbara himself would have to stand up and wave the people back to their seats, reassuring them that he would not leave until they'd had their precious contact with him.
I gave my all to the one I found the greatest thing that I could ever find. I found God's love in every little thing I do in life. I know that He alone is real. Yes, I know that He alone is real. And once I saw love.
Late in the day, Barbara's right hand gave out, and he continued giving prasad with his left. When some of his disciples asked him to rest, he replied, "This is my rest."
And that He is near Baba, and that we should follow Him, and that He is near Baba. I saw the
At 6 o'clock, it was time for the darshan program to end, and by now the atmosphere was electric with Barbara's presence. The crowd, seemingly magnetised by Barbara's irresistible love, simply could not break the connection with him. To escape, Barbara mounted on the top of the car that had brought him. The glorious sunset became enhanced by the magnificent luminosity of Barbara's light as the car slowly moved through the crowd of ecstatic people. Perhaps for all of us the next day was spent in reflection on what had taken place the previous day, and of course the great expectation of what was to follow. for the one who had shown love and divinity in measureless abundance to the masses was about to become our daily companion. We rose early in eager anticipation of beloved Barbara's arrival. A lookout was stationed on the tower, and suddenly he shouted, "He is coming!" I would watch him striding slowly up the hill effortlessly, each movement like that of some skilled dancer who forgets himself for a moment and becomes pure movement. I never saw a single movement of body, limbs or facial changes that did not prompt my heart to declare perfection and my mind to be baffled and say, he could not be other than God. Everyone was somewhat standoffish at first. The physical proximity of the avatar is an awesome experience. But Barbara broke the ice by saying, "Don't be afraid. Gather around me like friends." That did it. We were like children of the merciful Father. Barbara joked with some, and then, as if to say, "Let me show you around the place," he led us on a tour of Mehrabad. Barbara told stories highlighting the significance of each building along the way. Striding rapidly down Mehrabad Hill, we arrived at Lower Mehrabad, just as two station wagons carrying 14 nuns from Upasni Maharaja's ashram arrived. As each in turn bowed at Barbara's feet, Barbara exclaimed, "I am the Ancient One. I am the one reality." Returning to Upper Mehrabad, Barbara took the nuns on a tour of Mehrabad Hill. Film footage was shot of all of us, and then later, Barbara and us Westerners gathered in the Western room of the water tank. Barbara began to dictate on his alphabet board, and Erich spoke his words.
Be perfectly natural and frank with me. I am your master, but also your friend. I am one of you and one with you. I will come to see you every day between now and the 27th, unless the rains make the roads impassable, or unless I catch a cold from one of you. I will explain many things about the spiritual path and realization, and about my work and what you can do to help in it.
Then Barbara continued to put us at ease by asking each of us to say something. But after this, Barbara swayed us in the opposite direction by saying,
Before I drop my body, I will have to undergo violent attacks on it. What has to happen will happen, and I will gladly undergo all this for the sake of humanity.
And he continued in a very personal manner.
Before I met my beloved in union, I lost everything: ego, mind, and lower consciousness. But thank God, I did not lose my sense of humor. That is why I appear among you on your level. It is so easy to see God that its being easy has made it infinitely difficult. When all doubts are removed, when mind is at infinite peace, when you continually, unbreakably enjoy divine bliss, in that split second you see, in that moment you understand that you always were that. It is more clear than what you see here with your gross eyes. If you were to see me at Andhra and elsewhere, where the traditions are different from yours, you would see how different it is. They respect me as they are used to thinking of saints and yogis sitting with a sober expression on their faces. If they were to see me here with you and you eating and smoking in front of me, they would say, "What is going on here?" When I sit with the lowly and the poor, I am one with them. And when I sit with you, I am one with you. But when I am in my divine state, only God knows who I am. You cannot.
Before departing, Baba promised us that he would give each of us a private interview the next day. Then Baba went down the hill to confer with Padre and Pendu about the arrangements for the meetings on the 29th and 30th. On September 16th, Baba directed that we be brought to Mehrazad. He showed us the new life caravan, the blue bus, the Mananash cabin and other rooms. Then Baba led us up Seclusion Hill. At the crest he pointed where his cabin had been. He also said that the hill was not far from the place where Krishna used to play with the gopis. Baba told the men, "You are really fortunate to have come with me on the hill, with me leading the way. This is a very dear piece of land." Afterwards, Baba asked us to sit silently for 5 minutes. While embracing us as we left Mehrazad, Baba said,
You have only 15 days more to absorb Baba. After you leave, you will be free. You can play, work, be with your family and children as much as you want. But here, now, try to absorb as much of Baba as you can. What I would like, in short, is for you to take me with you when you go back.
The following morning, Baba arrived at Mehrazad at 9:30. He stated,
On very special occasions, I hold prayer meetings with a few of my most intimate disciples. Today, I shall hold one of these meetings so that you all may be included. You will see a Zoroastrian, Muslim, Hindu, and a special Christian prayer being recited.
Entering the main hall at Lower Mehrazad, Baba ordered that all of the doors and windows be tightly shut, and he began to recite the prayers of the 4 major religions with various members of his mandali.
O Lord of creation, Aruma, Thou art the source of life. Thou who art all effulgent and all knowing, art the Lord of lords, the King of kings, the Creator of all creation, the Preserver.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan
जीवनदायक तत्व आप ही हैं। अपने भक्तों की इच्छा पूर्ण करने हेतु आप शरीर धारण करते हैं। आप पालनकर्ता विष्णु हैं, जो शेषनाग सर्पों के राजा के ऊपर विश्राम।
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. O Lord, hear my prayer, and let my cry come unto thee. Thou who art the God of the God, the Father Almighty, Father, evermore.
Then he participated in his own prayer of confession, later to become known as the prayer of repentance. At the conclusion, Baba ordered the doors and windows to be reopened, and he returned to his chair, where we gathered around him on the floor.
Today you have joined God praying to God. I and God are one. Now we will go up the hill.
After having shown us the physical places of his work at Mehrabad and Mehrazad, Baba now began to spread his spiritual treasures before us.
I will give only points today, no explanations. Jesus and his inner circle and the Christian mystics all stressed purity of the heart. Muhammad and his imams also stressed purity of the heart. So did Zarathustra and the Magis. So did Krishna and his companions and the Vedantists. So does Baba stress purity of heart. Today we shall see what the heart is, what the mind is. The mind has a dual function. The first function is that of thinking. The impressions that lie dormant have to be worked out, and so they appear as thoughts. The second function of the mind includes all feelings and emotions. That means the heart. So what is known as the heart is actually the second functioning of the mind itself. This means that the first functioning of the mind is not important as far as spending impressions is concerned. It is natural. But the second functioning of the mind, which is generally called the heart, is important because it is the seat of desires. And unless the heart is void of all desires and all feelings, unless the heart is pure and naked, God, who is your innermost self, cannot reveal himself. Is this clear?
Malcolm Schloss asked Baba, what about repressions? Not wishing to divert his talk, Baba replied to Malcolm,
Do not ask this now.
Baba then continued,
God is your innermost self. That means that behind this limited body, you have within you energy and mind. You as you, the ego, are also there. You have this idea of yourself as body. You feel happy, depressed, hungry. But behind all this, there is something that cannot be gotten rid of, even if the body is not there. If both your hands or both your legs were to be cut off, you would still exist as you. That means you are not this body. Who then are you?
I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am not this. I am not that. I am nothing but a living lie of that truth that is me. And unless the lie is dead, the truth cannot be.
This you is your innermost self. We must find in our own self this important I. Who am I?
I am not the body. I am not the mind.
I might be energy, but when I do not move, do not act, when I am unconscious, energy does not manifest itself. Yet I still exist, so I am not energy. I might be mind, but the same applies here. When I am unconscious, in sound sleep, the mind is not functioning. But I still exist, so I am also not mind. Then who am I? I am that which is not body, not energy, not mind.
I am nothing but a living lie of that truth that is me. And unless the lie is dead.
In sound sleep, what do you experience? Nothing. That is you. Why? If I am not body, energy, mind, then I am that which has no body, energy, mind. And only sound sleep means that. What wakes you up from sound sleep? The impressions that lie on your mind. While spending old impressions, new impressions are formed, which also need spending. So ever new forms are taken according to good and bad impressions. Man, woman, beautiful, ugly, rich, poor, strong, weak, and so forth. Then comes a time when the impressions grow fainter and fainter, scarcer and scarcer. Eventually, they become so faint that they fade away completely. And when impressions are not there, mind's functioning is stopped. The heart is now naked and pure because there are no desires, no longings, no feelings. Yet you are still there.
I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am not this. I am not that. I am nothing.
Then the I now experiences that state which is above mind. It experiences the original state of real I-ness. This ego is called the real ego. And just as with the false ego, Malcolm said, I am this body, or I am this energy, or I am this mind. Now Malcolm says, I am God. Only the pure in heart can see God. That is what Pardam asked about, what being pure in heart meant.
I am nothing but a living lie of that truth that is me. And unless the lie is dead, the truth cannot be.
Now about myself. When I was a boy, I did not know anything. I had nothing to do with spirituality. I preferred marbles, kites, cricket. But in all the games that I played, I found myself naturally the leader of others. Yet one day, when a friend gave me a small booklet on the Buddha, I opened the book to the place that told the second coming of the Buddha as Maitreya, the Lord of Mercy. And I realized all of a sudden, I am that, actually. And I felt it deep within me. Then I forgot all about it, and years passed by. Baba Jan called me one day as I was cycling past her tree, and she kissed me on the forehead, and for 9 months, God knows, I was in that state which very, very few go. I had no consciousness of my body or of anything else. I roamed about, taking no food. My mother thought I was mad. My father understood, but said nothing. I did not sleep because I was unconscious. And then what happened is very rare. It is only for avatars who can take upon themselves the suffering of the world. I used to bang my head on the floor to relieve my pain. It was as if the whole universe was on my head. I used to break windows open with my forehead. Then I was drawn to Sai Baba. Sai Baba directed me to Pasni Maharaj. He picked up a stone and hit me on the head. All at once, I felt calm and I knew I was the Ancient One.
Baba then explained,
What is needed is to become, not only to see. You have to become what you already are. You are God, but you have to know how to become God. And Christ humiliated himself. God himself crucified himself to teach this. Through love, become what you already are.
At 10 a.m. Baba arrived at Mehrabad, where he greeted each of us warmly and led us into the lounge. Erich and Mayaji followed with a phonograph and some records. Baba stated,
Kabir said, any music is the seventh shadow of that word. As soon as I break my silence, that first word will make your hearts vibrate.
Then music from Marian Anderson, Fritz Kreisler, Richard Crooks and Ima Sumac was played. While Ima Sumac was playing, Baba remarked,
As long as it goes to the highest and goes to the lowest, I like it. It reminds me of my original state. I feel happy.
Dana Field translated a song by Sumac as, I love only thee, I worship only thee, to thee only I surrender the key to my treasure. And Baba commented,
He who could do this would know me. This reminds me, when I drop this body, which will come about through violence, not one will be near me at that time. None of my lovers, none of my mandali, only those who would kill this body. The circumstances will be so created that in the confusion, Baba will not find one near him. Only afterward they will flock around. It is staring me in the face. It might happen before the end of the year. My breaking the silence, dropping the body, and all this. In the meeting, I will speak at length about this.
At the end of the record, Baba turned to Charles Purdom and asked,
Dear Charles, can anyone imagine how I am here and simultaneously everywhere? And I am being crucified every moment, and I would willingly die 1,000,000 deaths to make someone love our beloved God, who alone is worthy of our love.
Baba then ordered John Ballantyne and myself to sit completely still in his tomb for half an hour at midnight, with all the doors and windows closed, and with our eyes open, repeating his name inwardly. Baba walked up the hill this Sunday morning, again picking up stones and throwing them. When he arrived at the top, he smiled, but was suffering. Baba then turned to me and asked me what I had experienced sitting in the tomb the previous night. After I attempted to explain how my heart pounded and of the immense difficulty I had in trying to carry out his orders, he said to me,
Do not be frightened. There is nothing to fear. Don't force your attention. Even if a snake comes, let it pass by. And love Baba during these half hours. Why this fear? Fear means no love. Do not fear. Love me. Let us have music. Indian music is all about love. Some of you may not like it, but I will explain it. This is a wonderful state of love. The lover is not concerned with the planes and the different states of consciousness. He is only concerned with God and how to love God. He arrives at a stage when this love fills his world, and the pangs of separation are so unbearable that he says, I now want to forget you, but the more I try, the more I remember you. This torture is unbearable.
Baba proceeded to give interpretations of the words sung in the different records.
Oh, you who love to talk of love, do you know the difficulties and hardships facing you? The Master tests you at every step on the path of love.
Baba asked us to say whether we liked the music. Nearly everyone said he liked it and was much moved by the music. I certainly was. He then said,
Don't talk to me about music. The first song I sang has brought the burden of all this universe upon me.
Malcolm asked Baba, does God enjoy illusion?
God, as God-man, enjoys illusion, but is free from it, for he governs illusion. All these are words, but words based on experience. You have that solace at least.
The records continued with Baba interpreting.
Remember, one who really loves God, God annihilates him. God mixes him with the dust.
The records continued and a recording of Begum Akhtar was played. Baba translated.
O you who talk of loving God, you have to bow down to Him as though at every step, every particle of dust were a threshold to the Beloved.
The records concluded and Baba said to us,
So today we talked of love and heard songs of love. Today we resolve that we must love God at any cost. And the most practical way to do it, I will tell you at the meeting.
On September 20th, Baba told us to meet him at Ahmednagar near Kushru quarters at 7 a.m. to set off for Sakori to visit the ashram of Upasni Maharaj. We stopped along the way at Rahuri, where Baba once had a must ashram, and hundreds of people were there to meet us. By 9:30 we had reached Sakori. Sakori is the ashram of Upasni Maharaj, one of Baba's masters.
What beauty unfolds to the eyes of those who stand at the threshold of Eden. Their longing has made them a melody, prepared for the King's returning. How the breeze that stirs the flowers by the path of all our yearning brings a shout from the heart for the world to hear. The King is at last returning. As the horses pass, all our grief and loss are cast to the dust as nothing. Darkness is past, daylight at last. The King is returning to Eden. How a stillness that rings like a chiming now pervades from the glen to the hillside. The breath of God is upon this place, bearing tidings.
Upasni settled there when it was cremation ground, but now it contained many buildings and many devotees, and the present head of the ashram, Godavari Mai. Baba insisted that we Westerners stay with him at all times, as there was quite a crowd pressing in. Baba told us, referring to Upasni,
This old man was God incarnate. I said at my last visit here that I would not again stop in Sakori. But I remembered that he had once said that visitors would come here from other lands to do devotion. To fulfill this, I had to come and bring you, dear ones, here. Now my work here is finished. I am the Ancient One. When Upasni threw that stone at me, I knew I was the Ancient One.
Baba then paid homage to the tomb of Upasni Maharaj, and we, one after another, did the same under Baba's guidance, kneeling and kissing the stone. We then visited the nuns' dormitory, and Baba sat in a swing while a girl sang a song that Baba himself had composed in praise of Upasni Maharaj many years ago. While he was on the swing, Baba commented,
The swing is attributed to Krishna. His mother used to rock him as a child, and when he grew up, the gopis used to rock him. Now it is customary for avatars and perfect masters to be rocked in a swing.
And his face is like the green, green grass. His face is like the meadow in early spring. Hear him sing, the end is my beginning. And my heart is like the tall, tall grass that bows to the rains of heaven. Let the world know, tell every soul, the King is returning to Eden. Oh, what beauty unfolds to the eyes of those who stand.
Baba arrived and started this morning off by showing us how to play marbles. Then he began explaining about miracles and why he thought that from the spiritual point of view they are nothing but farce.
When Jesus said, I and my Father are one, he meant that he was God. God created this entire phenomenal universe. That is God's miracle and the miracle of Jesus. It means that innumerable beings were created by Jesus who die according to his will. It is supposed that Jesus' greatness is that he raised some few dead to life. How ridiculous that is, unless given some hidden meaning. It is supposed that he is the Savior because he raised a few dead and gave sight to the blind, creating insignificant illusions in the midst of his great illusion. He said, I am God, I am the Savior, I am everything. But they were not impressed by that. If he raised the dead, people are impressed, which would mean that they were impressed not by himself, but by his so-called miracles. Had Jesus not raised the dead, had he not performed the miracles, he would not have been crucified. And he wanted to be crucified. He performed the miracles to make certain of being crucified. Many miracles have been attributed to me, but I do not perform miracles. I do not attach importance to miracles. When people think miracles have been performed, their faith has done it. One miracle I will perform, and for that miracle the time is nigh. I have said that my miracle will be not to raise the dead, but to make one dead to himself, to live as God. I have repeatedly said, I will not give sight to the blind, but I will make them blind to the world in order to see God. To sum up, we have to feel in our heart of hearts that only God is real, that He alone exists, that He is in us all, that He alone is to be loved, God and God alone. I give everything and demand nothing in return. Love me like that, and Baba is your slave. Even if you can't do that, don't worry. As long as you are mine, you need not worry. You are mine. That is why I have drawn you such long distances.
On Wednesday the 22nd, Baba arrived at 10:30 a.m. He did not walk up the hill today, and he appeared to be very strained and tired. He started the day by dictating on his board.
I used to say to the Mandali that in God's work, Maya always opposes. It is necessary. Just as illusion is necessary for the realization of God, so Maya's force in opposing God's work gives strength to the work. The greater the opposition from Maya, the better the result.
Baba then explained,
The meetings on the 29th and 30th will be the first and last meetings of their kind. As the day approaches for these meetings, the burden is lowering on my head, just as the clouds lower in the sky. In eternity, there is no time. Nothing has ever happened, and nothing ever will happen. There is no time factor. Billions of years ago, you were. Today, you are here. Ever afterwards, you will be. Today, all that is happening is not happening, though this does not appear to be so now. When one has experience of eternity, one knows that God is. To say that God was, is, and will be is wrong. All eternity is now present at this moment. So I say, God is. What happened yesterday has produced a temporary effect, but the actual happening of yesterday has stopped, which means that nothing happened yesterday. The temporary effect is illusion. So it goes on, God and illusion running parallel. Illusion says everything is happening. God says nothing happens. There will be no more explanations. I'll play marbles with you. I am so full of humor and so human that it is difficult even for rishis and saints to know me as I am. I am at every level and act according to that level. With a child, I am a child. With the highest saints, I am one with them. It is my nature to be absolutely natural, even with beloved God, who is one with me and I with Him.
Baba then asked us if there were any other promised explanations he should keep, and Malcolm replied, to talk about repressions. He ended the session by turning to Malcolm and saying, "Repressions, Malcolm, you work it out for yourself. Let us play marbles." Before entering the village, Baba took us to the Dooney, where many of his lovers from Arungaon had gathered.
You are born to every man will feel your love. Every man will feel your love, your love, your love, your love. You are born to every man will feel your love. Every man will feel your love, your love, your love, your love.
Here he lit the Dooney and the villagers, after singing Baba's Arti garland hymn.
Every man will feel your love, your love, your love, your love. Every age you come to us to instill your love in us, so that we may be true to the trust you repose in us. Love divine, so pure, always will endure the passage of time until you come again. And once more, you are born to every man will feel your love. Every man will feel your love, your love, your love, your love.
The outpouring of devotion from the Arungaon villagers at the Dooney and next in the village was not just from their acceptance of him as the avatar of the age, Ram and Krishna come again, but also as the result of the great personal care Baba had taken of these villagers from the days he first entered Mehrabad.
Just the same, you come back to play your game.
Baba now entered the village. His love had transformed.
Worthy of love, 'cause you are love. To thy love, all the stars above.
As children, so many of these people had been bathed, clothed, healed, educated and employed at the hands of the Avatar himself. This was the opportunity they had been waiting for, to embrace their beloved once again and return the love that lifted them out of poverty and ignorance. As we walked with Baba through the lanes, he suddenly turned and moved swiftly down a narrow passageway into a large communal room. He went straight to an old woman, embraced her lovingly in a seemingly eternal moment, and then just as quickly rushed past me on his way out. The scene was timeless. The heart cry of the woman's longing was timeless, and the response of God's embrace and comfort amidst the earthen walls and dirt floor could have taken place in any advent of the God-man. Baba decided to give darshan in the trust compound in Ahmednagar, so that those who were not able to have his darshan in Wadia Park on the 12th could do so.
I give my life, you give me immortality. I give my consciousness to you give me omniscience. I give my energy to you give me omnipotence. I give my form to you give me omnipresence. You and I play the game of creative giving.
At one point, a woman placed an Indian coin on Baba's foot. Baba left it there. This was surprising, as Baba had not touched money for many years. Then he turned his foot and the coin fell off. Baba next covered it with gravel and with a very serious expression stared at where it was buried.
I give my time to you, you give me eternity. I give my possessions to you, you give me limitless abundance. I give my love to you, you give me perpetual communion. You and I play the game of creative giving. You and I play the game of creative giving. You and I play the game of creative giving.
Compared to the teeming masses at the Wadia Park darshan, this was a far more intimate affair, but the individual devotion was just as great. Even though the crowd was again too great for all to have Baba's darshan, he left promptly at 6 p.m. as arranged, radiantly riding out of the compound on the top of Sarosha's car. As he left, we expected that this would be the last time we would see Baba before the meetings on the 29th and 30th. But unexpectedly, Baba arrived the next morning, the 27th, at Mehrabad.
Listen to the wind song blowing free, song of the wind.
He explained that he did not want to come because he had a lot to tend to. But the women Mundley had presents for us and for our families. All quickly gathered in the West Room. Baba then distributed the gifts and photographs and said,
To all you meet and see, give my love, the only thing worth receiving.
There is no doubt that for each of us there were special moments with beloved Baba, and one for me was when his eyes conveyed a haunting sadness, and this produced deep within me the words, "Here is one who is homeless, seeking only to be given a home in each heart." Then, for the final time, we all sat together quietly. Darwin Shaw described that moment. Baba sat there like a beautiful flower. Waves of love just flowed from him. The room became love's sanctuary. As the wind was sighing through the window high up the wall, it made a noise. Baba smiled and pointed to it. We nodded. No one wanted to break the enchantment of that quiet time. We were just silent and sat there. We were just completely melted away. It was so glorious.
Let the song of the wind ever remind you of my love. Let its soul healing balm sigh through your being wherever you are. And know, beloved, that you are mine forever. And I've called you from the realm of illusion to caress you with love, love divine. Listen to the wind song blowing free, song of the wind.
On the morning of the 28th, it started raining, and rained heavily for 24 straight hours. This was the first day of the meetings, where he invited 1,000 Eastern men to attend Mehrabad to hear his final declaration. These wet conditions were very uncomfortable for everyone, especially Eastern men who had slept under tents. When Baba arrived in the morning, he addressed this drenched state of affairs by dictating this message, which was read out over the loudspeaker.
Last night, all the time I was thinking why the rain started, especially on the 28th when you were to arrive here. Because all these 28 days there was sunshine and all the programs went off cheerfully. The darshan program of the 12th September, the explanations to the Western group here, and another program at Sakori, and the program at Nagar on the 26th went off cheerfully. Then for the first time I asked myself whether I was the avatar. And the clear and definite answer was, yes, I am the Ancient One, the highest of the high. Then I asked Avatar Meher Baba, why this rain, this inconvenience to the lovers who have come all the way to meet you? Avatar Meher Baba replied, those who really love you would come with their heads in the palm of their hands, and this inconvenience would be a happiness to them.
Baba then embraced all 1,000 men, stating,
as I am going to drop my body soon, this is your last opportunity to embrace me. By God's will, may you all be worthy of my love and not sell me. Yet I never die. I am always the Ancient One. You should all remember that God alone is real and that all else is illusion. Your attending this meeting and hearing in precise detail and definite terms about these happenings will be worth it if all of you, or if some of you, or at least a few of you spread the message of my love to others.
The remainder of the day was filled in by Baba meeting groups of men from various parts of India. The next morning, the 30th, began cool and cloudy. Baba appeared at 9 a.m. and led the whole group up the hill. When we arrived at the top, Baba sat under a tree and we all rested while pictures were taken. Then Baba led us all through the gates of Upper Mehrabad and towards the tomb. and he explained that he wanted the assembly of men to see his tomb, his last resting place. As everyone gathered near his tomb, he told stories of early days and incidents that happened on the hill. Then we all returned back down the hill and entered the pandal. Then Baba left. Returning again at 2:40 p.m, he entered the pandal and walked onto the stage. At 3 p.m. precisely, and in complete silence, Erich read out Meher Baba's final declaration.
I am very happy to have you all here. I know that many of you have come to Meherabad under very difficult circumstances. Some of you have covered thousands of miles and even crossed continents to be at Meherabad today. It is your deep love for me that has braved all obstacles and prompted you to sacrifice your comforts and conveniences to honor my call and to be near me today. I am deeply touched by your devotion, and I am proud of the hearts that contain such love and loyalty. There are many more devoted hearts like yours yearning to be present here, but these are not to be seen in your midst today. I know that in spite of their intense desire to be near me, they could not possibly come for one reason or another. Therefore, they depend on you to convey to them in detail all that you see and hear during these 2 days of unique opportunity that has fallen to your lot. I trust you will not fail them. Although you are present here with all love and faith in me, and though you feel blessed to have my personal contact, yet I know that you will not realize today, as you ought to, the true significance of my call and your presence here at this juncture. Time alone will make most of you realize not many months from now the significant importance of this assembly. The time is fast approaching when all that I have repeatedly stressed from time to time will definitely come to pass. Most of you will witness those events and will recall very vividly all that transpires during these 2 days of your stay at Meherabad. I have not come to establish anything new. I have come to put life into the old. I have not come to establish retreats or ashrams. I create them for the purpose of my universal work, only to repeatedly dissolve them once that purpose has been served. The universe is my ashram, and every heart is my house. But I manifest only in those hearts in which all other than me ceases to live. When my universal religion of love is on the verge of fading into insignificance, I come to breathe life into it and to do away with the farce of dogmas that defile it in the name of religions and stifle it with ceremonies and rituals. The present universal confusion and unrest has filled the heart of man with greater lust for power and a greed for wealth and fame, bringing in its wake untold misery, hatred, jealousy, frustration, and fear. Suffering in the world is at its height in spite of all the striving to spread peace and prosperity, to bring about lasting happiness. For man to have a glimpse of lasting happiness, he has first to realize that God, being in all, knows all, that God alone acts and reacts through all, that God, in the guise of countless animate and inanimate entities, experiences the innumerably varied phenomena of suffering and happiness. Thus it is God who has brought suffering in human experience to its height, and God alone who will efface this illusory suffering and bring the illusory happiness to its height. Whether it manifests as creation or disappears into oneness of reality, whether it is experienced as existing and real or is perceived to be false and non-existent, illusion throughout is illusion. There is no end to it, just as there is no end to imagination. There are two aspects experienced in illusion: manyness and oneness. While manyness multiplies manyness, oneness goes on magnifying itself. Manyness is the religion of illusion on which illusion thrives. In the illusory beginning of time, there was no such state of mess in illusion as there is today. When the evolution of consciousness began, there was oneness in spite of the diversity in illusion. With the growth of consciousness, manyness also went on increasing, until now it is about to overlap the limit. Like the wave that reaches its crest, this height of manyness will dissolve itself and bring about the beginning of oneness in illusion. Suffering at its height will cause the destruction of this climax of manyness in illusion. The time has come for the preordained destruction of multiple separateness, which keeps man from experiencing the feeling of unity and brotherhood. This destruction, which will take place very soon, will cause 3/4 of the world to be destroyed. The remaining 1/4 will be brought together to live a life of concord and mutual understanding, thus establishing a feeling of oneness in all fellow beings, leading them toward lasting happiness. Before I break my silence, or immediately after it, 3/4 of the world will be destroyed. I shall speak soon to fulfill all that is shortly to come to pass. To affirm religious faiths, to establish societies, or to hold conferences will never bring about the feeling of unity and oneness in the life of mankind, now completely absorbed in the manyness of illusion. Unity in the midst of diversity can be made to be felt only by touching the very core of the heart. This is the work for which I have come. I have come to sow the seed of love in your hearts, so that, in spite of all superficial diversity which your life in illusion must experience and endure, the feeling of oneness through love is brought about amongst all the nations, creeds, sects, and castes of the world. In order to bring this about, I am preparing to break my silence. When I break my silence, it will not be to fill your ears with spiritual lectures. I shall speak only one word, and this word will penetrate the hearts of all men and make even the sinner feel that he is meant to be a saint, while the saint will know that God is in the sinner as much as he is in himself. When I speak the word, I shall lay the foundation for that which is to take place during the next 700 years. When I come again after 700 years, the evolution of consciousness will have reached such an apex that materialistic tendencies will be automatically transmuted into spiritual longing, and the feeling of equality in spiritual brotherhood will prevail. This means that opulence and poverty, literacy and illiteracy, jealousy and hatred, which are in evidence today in their full measure, will then be dissolved through the feelings of the oneness of all men. Prosperity and happiness will then be at their zenith. This does not mean that oneness in illusion shall remain so eternally. This is because all this that is illusion. The consciousness of oneness as well as manyness in illusion is part of the process of evolution. The time is bound to recur when there will be again the same beginning, growth and culmination of the heights of manyness and oneness in illusion. My next advent after I drop this body will be after 700 years, and that will mark the end and the beginning of a cycle of cycles. All cycles of time in illusion end and begin after 700 to 1400 years. There have been and will be millions and billions of such cycles in a cycle of cycles. Thus, there is no end to illusion, which always remains illusion. Age after age, I come amidst mankind to maintain my creation of illusion, thereby also awakening humanity to become aware of it. The framework of illusion is always one and the same, but the designs in illusion are innumerable and ever-changing. My advent is not to destroy illusion, because illusion, as it is absolutely nothing. I come to make you become aware of the nothingness of illusion. Through you, I automatically maintain illusion, which is nothing but the shadow of my infinite self. And through me, you automatically discard illusion when you are made aware of its falseness. My manifestation as the avatar of the time will be of short duration. This short period will, in quick succession, cover my humiliation, the breaking of my silence, my glorification, and my violent physical end. Everlastingly, with all the divine bliss within me, I eternally suffer for one and all. Thus, I am crucified eternally and continually for all. During this short period, my word of words will touch the hearts of all mankind, and spontaneously this divine touch will instill in man the feeling of the oneness of all fellow beings. Gradually, in the course of the next 700 years, this feeling will supersede the tendency of separateness and rule over the hearts of all, driving away hatred, jealousy and greed that breed suffering, and happiness will reign.
Up until these 3 weeks in India, I no doubt accepted Baba intellectually as the Christ, and although there was fervour, there was not the depth of attachment to the body of the Avatar until my meeting him in 1954. The magic quality of those days in 1954, the sharp mornings and soft evenings, the indefinable quality of the atmosphere of Mehrabad, in which the ordinary became extraordinary. That atmosphere, heightened immeasurably by the physical presence of Baba, pressed around me, palpable, warm, comforting, supportive, containing so much that I was at home, to the exclusion of any other home in the world. It is now 50 years later, and still that time is vivid in memory and experience. It constantly reminds me to turn to him, allowing the heart to respond to his truth and beauty, and thus replacing, submerging the clamours of the mind and its jumbled sanskaras. To do this, I remind myself to constantly feed the heart from the source of love, beloved Meher Baba. Love conquers all. Love alone prevails.
We have waited all night for you, but now the dawn is come. From distant places we came, there can be no returning home. We know it is morning because of the dawn's cool fingers upon our hot eyelids, and we can hear her sweet singer. We cannot be sure now whether it was our own yearning that expected you or you promised. It matters not in this burning. Neither have we a brightness, nor will we behold the new day. We lost our eyes in the darkness and are adrift on tears waves way. Blind witless wretches whose song the wind carries with the seagull's cry. Old fellows brave enough to leave home, but not daring enough to die. Still we are
to us that somewhere this world's sun will presently rise? Sometime this darkness of nowhere will be lit by the light of your eyes. What is it to us that somewhere the world's sun will presently rise? Sometime this darkness of nowhere will be lit by the light of your eyes. We have waited all night for you, but now the dawn is come.